My name is Shari Criso. I'm a certified nurse midwife. I was a labor and delivery nurse for many years. In my private practice as a midwife, I delivered over 600 babies, and I've been a board certified lactation consultant for the past 8 years. And my mission is to support and educate and empower and inspire you to have the healthiest children possible, to raise them the way that you want to make the choices that are best for you and for your families and for your babies. And I hope that you've been getting that from me every single day, because that is what this is all about, okay? This is what, making those choices and feeling really, really good. Not just getting through this time, but enjoying this time. I've decided that tonight's theme, we're really going to focus on pregnancy, labor, birth, and doulas, okay? Doulas, one of my favorite topics. Some of my most favorite people in the world are doulas, and I don't think that they sometimes get as much recognition as they deserve. And tonight's entire show is going to be dedicated to all the doulas out there that we love. We are going to love on those doulas tonight, right? Okay? And we've got major doulas in the house tonight with us. And what I want to say is, before we even get started with our special guest for tonight, I have one extremely special guest, okay? And this person is someone that I think about very, very often in my life. You know, for all the moms out there who've had your children, you think back to that moment of birth, and you think back to that time when your baby first delivered. And it's a time in your life, I'm gonna get emotional. I hope you have some tissues here. This is gonna be a crying moment for me. You think back to that time in your life when your baby first delivers and you get to lay eyes on your baby for the first time. And you think about that day and what it meant to you, and the people that were around you who made that extra special. And of course, Joe was there with me, and I will never forget his support and his contribution to me. But there's one other person that I've never gotten to formally acknowledge for the contribution that she made to my life that I will never forget. And that's somebody named Mary Healy, and she was my doula, and she is here with us. And can we say hi to Mary on the phone? Is Mary with us?
One second.
All right, we're bringing Mary up.
All right, Mary, you're live.
Hi.
Okay, hi, Shari. Hello.
Hi.
Wonderful.
Hi, Mary. You know, I just want to tell you, and I want to really just be able to say this in front of everybody that knows me out there, what a major impact you've had on my life in when I look back at the births that I had and who you were for me. And I've known you for a really long time, and not only during our births, but we worked together with so many of our clients as well, taking care of our patients together. And I just want to tell you what a contribution you have been to the world, and people who come back to me and tell me that you are just an angel to them. So I just want to say thank you. And I don't know if I've ever publicly said that right in front of everybody, but I wanted to make sure that tonight I got a chance to say that to you, Mary.
Well, thank you. That's very lovely, and it was my pleasure and privilege to be there at your birth. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it really was wonderful. Mary did something really, really special for us, and it's in our baby books. Mary took the time during my labors to document everything that was going on. You know how you kind of forget everything that's happening. And she wrote Joe and I a letter and really documented everything that was going on and wrote it to the baby, and really let Jade know who we were during that time. And it was just something so special that you did for us that I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. So I want to really thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and I know that's just who you are, and I know that that's what you do for everyone. But it's sometimes we don't get acknowledged, and we don't hear how much that really means to us. And so I feel like you really deserve to hear that, and what a generous person you are.
Well, thank you. And I've always gone at this whole business with the idea that it is a day you remember for the rest of your life, and that I get to be a small piece of that is just amazing.
Yeah. And Mary, do you have any tips for anybody out there who's like considering whether they think they should be getting a doula or not, like if it would be right for them? Do you have any advice or anything that you'd like to offer to anybody?
I'm a firm believer in getting educated and going with your gut. it sounds like it's something that would be something you would like, talk to people who have done it, call and interview different women, because it's a personal decision. It has to be somebody that clicks with you.
Absolutely. 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 And I know there's people on the line right now who are probably saying, "Oh, that know you, that oh, I see some, that's awesome, Mary." You got fans, in the audience.
I love you, Mary.
Jade said, "Oh, you see,
Nice.
Jade just said, 'I love you, Mary.' Thank you, Mary. She remembers."
Aw.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you could be here with us tonight, Mare. And thank you for taking care of all my patients through the years as well, and giving them the birth experience that they deserved.
And thank you for recommending me.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I will see you soon.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have an awesome night and a very, very happy holiday to your family.
Thank you, and I look forward to that picture of the girls. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. You'll get your Christmas card. We'll be sending them out. No worries. Good night, Mary. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so that was Mary, and here I was a midwife. You would think, okay, you're a midwife, you got your husband, he's totally supportive, what would you need a doula for? And more than anybody, I knew that I needed a doula, because I knew what birth was, and I knew the support that was really needed for that. Tonight we have some really, really special guests, okay? We have other doulas on the line with us, and what we are going to do is we're going to have a whole conversation, whether you're expecting, whether you've had your baby, whether you're planning number 2, whatever it is, we're going to talk about everything you would want to know about why would you need a doula, how would you go about finding one, what are some of the questions you would ask, okay? And what an honor to be able to dedicate an evening to talking about such an important topic. Every time I teach my childbirth class, we get into this topic, and it seems like there's so much misinformation and really lack of knowledge around what is a doula, why would I have a doula, what's the difference between a doula and a midwife. I'm even seeing those questions popping up here in the chat room. Maybe you guys can give a little bit of an explanation about what a doula is and why would somebody be thinking about hiring one for their birth.
Awesome. Well, it's so great because doulas get to come alongside the parents in ways that walk through all the little details of pregnancy. So whereas a OB or a midwife, they might focus on the birth and the health of the mom, the health of the baby. A lactation consultant, she focuses on the breastfeeding and, that kind of plan, where the doula gets to come alongside all the different aspects. There are doulas that specialize in childbirth and will help with all those detailed ins and outs of building a birth plan and the emotional aspects of childbirth. And then there's also postpartum doulas who come alongside families that have just had a baby, and they work with moms in just acclimating even to life and being able to have a regular sleeping pattern with baby, to have time to take a shower, to have, a lot of those kinds of things. So it's really just someone who comes alongside and is there for informational, emotional, and physical support.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because a lot of times people don't realize that there are doulas who do different aspects of care. There are labor doulas who will actually take care of you during the labor and the birth, and then there's postpartum doulas who actually come afterwards to support you with bringing the baby home, correct?
Correct, exactly. And there's even different certifications available. There's training, and most there's a lot of people that I would say are doulas at heart, in that they come along and they know how to just support. They're that person that goes and gets you a glass of water before you even ask for one.
Right.
Because you just look like you're parched.
Yep. Yep.
So there's a lot of people that have a doula heart. Yes, Jamie, we see that you consider yourself a
Jamie is he's the man doula.
But where professional doulas come in is that they actually then take the extra certification, and that they get extra education. And sometimes I tell my clients, I'm an encyclopedia. I read about this. I immerse myself in this all the time. You might as well just open up my brain and use whatever I've got.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that, taking it up another level to be able to serve clients.
Absolutely. People ask all the time, should I hire a baby nurse? What should I do? I need support after delivery. And it's always been my suggestion is that most baby nurses or when they call themselves baby nurses that are out there are not actually nurses or have a lot of training in breastfeeding necessarily. And if you're a breastfeeding mom and you're really looking for support afterwards, you're going to be feeding the baby. You really need someone to take care of you. And that's where a postpartum doula, I think, is really the best choice.
I'm really glad that you brought up baby nurses because there is a big difference between a baby nurse and a postpartum doula.
Absolutely.
A baby nurse actually comes in and takes over the care of the baby so mom can sleep or rest or whatever. They're really they're almost like a nanny, but they're specialized in that newborn period.
Yes.
Whereas a postpartum doula, it's about coming alongside and walking through the decision. So if a mom says, what do you think about co-sleeping with my baby?
Yes.
Well, what do you think about co-sleeping with your baby? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Do you know how to do it safely and follow through all the different choices that every family has?
Absolutely. I think there's a big misconception and a lack of knowledge regarding the difference between the two. And I really always try to educate between the differences because I think it is a huge difference between the type of care that you're going to receive.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the type of certifications that doulas can go through and how you'd be able to find one. Like if you're pregnant right now and you're looking for doulas, like what kind of certification process is there and where would you go about finding one?
So there are two main certifying organizations. Dona International has been around the longest and probably the most heard about in the news. And then there's CAPA. Karen's putting it into the chat room of the different, those two right there.
Oh, awesome. Good.
So those are places that people can find more information about trainings. There's lists on them of certified doulas through their organization. And so you can find some, doulas who are certified by zip code.
And some doulas, I know, they come from all different backgrounds. Some doulas, like when I was talking to Mary before, Mary's been a labor and delivery nurse for, I don't know, well over 30 years. But you don't need to be a nurse to be a doula. Some people are massage therapists, they're moms. They come from all different disciplines, right?
Absolutely. And, it's even great that I know several really good doulas that have never even had children.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what's incredible about it.
Yeah. Well,
in that there is that part that it's in your heart to do this. It's in your heart to kind of know. I think empathy is one of the best gifts a doula can have.
Yes.
In that you can empathize with someone and kind of be able to feel what they're feeling,
yes,
what they're going through.
Yes.
And then the training and the education, I mean, that's stuff you can learn on top of that. But having that heart, like Joe, I really appreciated what Joe said earlier about Mary, in that she's one of those types of people that just are there. They're just doing it, and I think that, I just think that's one of the things about being a doula that you do. You just, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, somebody's asking in the chat room, did doulas have a medical degree? And I think, I know that as a midwife, I've got that question a lot, what's the difference between a midwife and a doula? And I think that it's important to distinguish the difference between it. A midwife is somebody more who would be someone with a medical degree that takes care of your entire delivery and birth and the medical aspects of your care. And then the doula would be someone who would be taking care of you, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And, we do not, as doulas, we do not diagnose, we do not prescribe, we do not take vitals or take measurements. We would not it would be out of our scope of practice to take heart tones even.
Yes.
And, but in doing that, as a doula, what we can do is when a diagnosis is made by a midwife or when something is prescribed by an OB, we can then walk a client through the educational piece of what does that diagnosis mean.
Yes.
And be there to to either have the shoulder to cry on, and then I don't like this outcome, and be there for that emotional piece or just that informational piece. So in this scenario, we've seen this go on, we've seen that go on. In this scenario, there may be these options or those options. And so we work best as doulas when we complement the care of a qualified midwife or qualified OBGYN, in that we come alongside, again, it's that come alongside piece.
Absolutely. I know with Mary, my labor started in the middle of the night. It was late at night, I think 11 o'clock, and I labored through the night, and I know that, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I called Mary and said, I just really need you to be here with me. And she came, and I told Joe to go back to sleep so he would be awake and alert for the hours to come. And I just remember Mary sitting on the couch with me. We didn't really say much. I didn't really feel like talking, but she just sat there with me. And it was just that knowing somebody was there when I needed it, knowing somebody was just there, her energy just being right next to me. She knew when to not talk, and she knew when to talk, and she was just the right person for me. How do you go about finding the right person for you? Because Mary was obviously the perfect match for me.
So one question, Sherry, how many doulas did you talk to before you found Mary?
In my particular case, I didn't talk to many because Mary had actually trained me as a nurse, so I had the advantage of when I had started as a labor and delivery nurse. Mary was one of the people who trained me, and then I became a midwife, and it was years later that I then had my baby, and so she was just somebody I knew for a long time. So I didn't go through a lot of interview process, which is why I think I'm probably not the best one to know what do you ask in those interviews.
So that's a really great piece. So the first part is to start with who do you know? Right. Because a doula, like Karen was saying, could be the person that knows what to say to you in your most, stressful moments in your life. And so sometimes the doula is your best friend. But if you are, or if you know that best friend is not the supportive person for your birth or postpartum, that they have pre-existing ways of doing things, then you need to meet with several different doulas, and I would say probably 3 is a really good number.
Yeah.
Asking some really great questions. The beauty of pregnancy is that it really puts parents in a place where they start to be self-introspective and really asking themselves questions about themselves, because you're becoming a parent. You're becoming that child's caregiver, and I would say that the best place to start is to ask yourself, what is it that's going to make you most comfortable? Some people, it's information. They want that information readily available to them. They want expertise. They want answers. And if you're that type of person that having that comfort zone of the answers and the expertise, you're going to want a very, very qualified doula. You're going to probably want someone who's been in the field for quite some time, and you're going to want to ask them questions specifically about their experience. What number of births have you been? What kind of continuing education have you done?
Yeah.
Where have you done births? Have you done births at my hospital? You're going to want somebody who is a wealth of information, whereas some parents are more intuitive based.
Yes.
And they kind of just want to have a sense. They might have the most qualified, the most educated, la 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 la, but yet their gut tells them that I just don't like that person.
Yes.
So it may just be also, if you feel more intuitive based, that you just know that this person, come what may, whether it be great outcome or not such great outcome, this person connects with me.
Yes.
That can make a big difference in an interview. And so I love it that parents can start to ask those questions, because ultimately even answering those little questions will help you with your care provider in looking for an OB or for a midwife. And then it will help you with the daycare provider. And all the way down the line. How do you make decisions as a parent?
How early in the pregnancy would you suggest that somebody actually start interviewing and looking into the idea of having a doula and start the whole process?
Well, looking into and just knowing about doulas, of course, as early as possible. In our area, there's a lot of doulas. If you want to have kind of your pick of doulas, then probably around 5-6 months.
Yes.
But I like to say it's never too late unless you're pushing.
Once the baby's out, right?
Well, no, then you can have a postpartum doula.
That's true. That's very, very true. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
It's also the pre-pregnancy piece in that, I actually have had the honor in what I consider the honor to work with parents as they've gone through fertility issues.
Awesome.
In that they've actually approached me before they even started trying to have a baby.
Yeah.
We looking at having a baby, we want to make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row before we even get pregnant. What should she be eating? What should we be doing? That kind of thing. And so that's actually a really great place.
Fantastic. One of the questions that a lot of times comes up, especially in my childbirth class, is will dad feel left out? In some ways, like, are we trying to take the place of dad's role in the experience, in the support, in the labor? And how does that work together?
I love that question. That's a near and dear to my heart question because I have 3 boys. My husband was the most involved when I had a doula.
Yeah.
He was there in the room. He was present. She was able to say, oh, push, it looks like she could use some massage right here.
Yes.
Or, her being intuitive about me needing something to drink at that moment.
Yes.
She could hand him the glass of water, and he would hand it to me. And so that connection was between me and my husband,
yes,
but enhanced by having the doula in the room.
I totally agree with that. I just remember, like, when we delivered Jade, our first, Joe was really involved in delivering the baby with me. He assisted our midwife in the actual birth, so he helped deliver the baby. And so Mary actually took all the pictures. And we have amazing pictures of Jade being born and Joe delivering her, and that was thanks to Mary.
And I always like to try to remind my couples that I'm there for both of them.
Yes.
I'm not there just for the mom. And
yep.
I actually did have one couple that the dad called me and said, I want to hire a doula.
Yeah.
Because I want to be the one giving
yeah.
her wife all the support she needs and doing this and doing the right things. But I want somebody to be there for me.
Totally. That is such a great point. There are times where, dad doesn't want to leave and really needs to get something to eat, where, the doula can go and get some food. And really, if dad doesn't want to leave mom's side, there's just it's just having that extra person that's just there to totally take care of both of you.
And again, I think that's where we even come back to a really good interview process.
Yeah.
That if you're sitting down with the doula and you feel that comfortable level, in between the 3 of you, that you can talk to each other really well, and that you don't feel, dad doesn't feel intimidated by the doula, or
yes.
all of that kind of thing, you can actually find out some of those, issues in an interview. I think a good question to ask is, how do you incorporate
yes.
dad into the birth as
yes.
a mom? You can ask the doula that. I mean, how do you encourage participation, or how do you empower participation?
Yep. Now, how do we deal with, like, practitioners that may not be as open to it, or you're concerned about bringing it up with your physician? If they're going to be open to the idea of you having a doula, will they feel threatened by the doula? Like, have you ever encountered any problems like that?
Unfortunately, in every profession, there are really great doulas and there are not so great doulas. And the term of not so great doula would be that doula that does not work well with the medical field.
That's true.
And make people feel threatened. So one of those questions that when you're interviewing is definitely, do you have care providers that would recommend you? Or
yes.
how well do you work with care providers? Those pieces, because if there is a battle going on in the birth room between you and your nurse, or you and your midwife, or you and your OB,
yes.
it does not serve the mom well.
Yes.
And I would say the biggest problems occur when a doula steps out of her scope of practice. Absolutely.
Yes.
When a doula is not familiar, and that's where that extra education does come into play. I know Donna, for example, is very good about, and there is a code of ethics that, as to be a certified doula with Donna, and also with Kappa, there's a code of ethics that you have to sign that basically helps you to understand what your boundaries are, and that you don't diagnose, you don't step in and be the voice for the mom or the dad, or be the voice for the midwife or the OB.
Yes.
And if the problems that happen, most of them happen because a doula is stepping out of her role, stepping out of that scope of practice and trying to take control of a situation or trying to take charge of something that isn't her place to do that. It's
Yes.
mom's place to do that.
Yes.
Or it's OB's place to do that.
Yes.
And so I tell my clients that when I'm interviewing that the better job I do as a doula in knowing what my job is, and then also honoring what the midwife's job is, honoring what the OB's job is, honoring their scope of practice,
Yes.
the less problems we're going to have, because then we work as colleagues
Yes.
and not as competition
And
for
that,
the care of the mom.
that might even come with the prenatal interview, where you're working with the parents beforehand to make the right decisions on choosing their provider before the birth.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is that piece, and I've had several clients that have asked me, well, what care providers do you recommend? You know,
Yeah.
who have you worked with that works really well?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of fun, because then I get to go and it is a
Yeah.
effort, and moms feel really supported.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's such an important topic. When I teach my childbirth class, it always keeps coming back to who's with you. We can't change that much about birth. We can have our plans, we can have our birth plans, we can have our ideas, and we can learn as much as we can. And then in the end, birth is about surrender. Birth is about unpredictability at times. Birth is about going with the flow. And then really what creates the experience is the people around you who take care of you to make you feel empowered, to make you feel good, to take care of you so you feel like you had the best experience possible, no matter how it ends up.
And I think it's really great that we have an opportunity to surround ourselves, too, with just really good people, and that we're not just standing out there on our own. And I'm looking at Mama Melinda chiming in here. So, the better that we can network and utilize the resources and really point mom to resources in the community.
Yes.
It's just so much fun, because then it actually puts feet to our words. And I love, like, for example, the Earth Mama Angel Baby products. As a doula, having such great places and resources makes my job easy as a doula. Because
Totally.
I know that when I recommend, this particular product, or a mom comes to me and says, I'm dealing with this postpartum issue, or I'm dealing with that I love it, because I can confidently say this company is cream of the crop, and they're gonna show you and give you what you need.
So
and
awesome.
then, just even products like like what you've come out with. It's just an expression and an overflow of the care and the love that you've been putting in for years and years. And
Yes.
now there's something that moms can get their hands on. And I think
Yes.
that's what's so fun about being a doula nowadays.
Yes.
Is that there's so many resources out there that we can just point moms in the direction to.
So awesome, you guys. I can't tell you how grateful I am that you guys were here with me tonight. It really, I think, made a huge difference for our entire audience to finally demystify, answer some questions, clarify, and help people make choices about something that they may not have thought about choosing for themselves. And so I really, really appreciate you coming on with me tonight and having this really great conversation. Thank you so much. I love you both. It was so nice to be with you guys again. And I am looking forward to our next chat, whether it's in person somewhere or online or on your show. But I just am so grateful that you could be here with us tonight. So let's move into some of the questions. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit more about, let's go into some of the questions here. I want to talk a little bit about some more pregnancy topics, because I haven't been able to discuss that many pregnancy, labor questions in the past. And this is a question that came in from Amanda from New York. And her question is that she's pregnant with her second child. She's about 30 weeks pregnant. And on Thursday, she went to the hospital to be monitored because she had an increase in a mucus discharge and a strong Braxton Hicks contractions. When she got to the hospital, the contractions became painful, moved to the middle of her uterus. Everything turned out to be fine. It wasn't labor. And now she's wondering, since the contractions were so strong, were they were registering on the monitor that she hasn't had anything like that at all? Will the Braxton Hicks just be more intense this time around? The answer to that question is, losing your mucus plug doesn't mean that you're necessarily going into labor, okay? And I used to get these calls as a midwife. They would wake me up at 2 in the morning to let me know that they lost their mucus plug, and I would say, that's really great. Okay, go back to sleep, and I will see you in a week. Because it can take several weeks after that happens, so it's not necessarily an indication that you're about to go into labor. And Braxton Hicks during pregnancy can also mean that you're not drinking enough water, okay? So if you're contracting or you're having any kind of cramping, make sure that you're getting enough fluid. At 30 weeks, 28 weeks is a very typical time where you'll notice that you may have more cramping because you're not getting enough fluid intake. Your blood volume is expanding by almost 50% at that time, and your body has a huge requirement for water. If you don't drink enough, you're going to wind up being admitted to the hospital on IV fluids, and so you don't want to do that. You want to just drink enough. I usually recommend drinking 2 big glasses of water, laying down and resting, and seeing if they go away. If it's not going away, then obviously you're going to call your practitioner and go in to be monitored and be checked to make sure that you're not in preterm labor, and have your urine checked as well, okay? So that was a question that I thought was very, very important to address. Another question that came in was, let's see here. Spacing. Where was that spacing question that I had here? Hold on one second. I had a question regarding, and it's not on here, but I know that I saw it. That I had a question. Somebody asked a question about wanting to have another baby. They had a 12-month-old, and they were thinking about having another baby, and when was the best time to actually have the second baby. Depending on your age, obviously, you may want to do it sooner rather than later, but the studies out there have shown that the best spacing is at least 18 months to wait 18 months after your first pregnancy is over. What they've seen is that it takes about 18 months for your body to build up the stores again to have a healthy second pregnancy. And babies that are born closer together, that second baby can sometimes suffer from low birth weight and other issues because your body's just not built up the stores to have and carry another baby. Also, if you get, and you see this all the time, people calling in or writing in questions about being pregnant and trying to nurse their second baby and having issues with milk supply and being able to do both at the same time. You really want to give that first baby at least that first year of nursing so that that first one can get everything that they need. I spaced my children naturally like that. I nursed for 13 months, and then when Jade was about 18 months old is when I got pregnant again. It is really an ideal time to wait for your next baby. Even if you are older, waiting another 6 months is not going to make that much of a difference, but it'll make a huge difference for your first child and also for the health of your second. So with spacing, that is really an issue. I love every single one of you, and I will see you next week, okay? So signing off once again. Good night, everyone. Mwah!